Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. So not long ago, I made a video about Jasmine Sussex, who has been taken to the tribunal, I believe, the Human Rights Tribunal, over a very factual statement and comment. And she's actually a breastfeeding expert, believe it or not. She said that it is a dangerous fetish for men to be chest feeding or like trying to breastfeed a child. As someone who is a breastfeeding expert, you would think that they would know what they're talking about. And also the fact that she's a woman at that. But no, she was fired from her job. More than that, she was taken to the tribunal. It's almost like they're trying to make a political statement. By the way, this is in good old Victoria in Australia, a crazy, crazy state that is so backwards, it's not even funny anymore. It's actually quite insane. So the plaintiff, the one that is accusing Jasmine Sussex of this hate and whatever else, is named Jennifer Buckley, born male and later chose to identify as a woman that chose to transition. You can't really transition, but anyway, but biologically fathered a baby through IVF in 2019 and is raising the child with wife Sandy. At the time, the paramedic posted on social media about taking hormones to grow breasts and explaining, for the past 6 weeks, I have been taking a drug called pomderone, domperidone, sorry. For the past 6 weeks, I've been taking a drug called domperidone to increase prolactin in an attempt to be able to produce breast milk so that I can have the experience of breastfeeding. So them, it's a fetish. To men, it's not actually about helping a baby. It's really just an experience. It's a sick and twisted, fetishized experience for these men to want to even do this. And the question that Jasmine raised, apart from like, you're nuts, is why? Why do these men want to all of a sudden try and breastfeed a baby? Now, in my personal opinion, men don't have breasts. They have chest, they have pectoral muscles. And to be able to do the exact same thing as a woman, they can't. It's not possible. But they're using a process known as the Newton-Goldfarb principle or method or whatever it's called. Newman-Goldfarb. There we go. And it's meant for women, not for men. But men have been able to use it and just excrete all the chemicals they've put into their body, mixed it up with their own hormones, and made it just 10 times worse for the baby. Now, have a watch of Jasmine on Sky News talk about why this is actually a problem. More than just the fact that it's a dangerous fetish, we don't really have or know scientifically what the damages are going to be done to the baby. Like, we know men can't breastfeed. We know that. That is a scientific fact. But now that the ability to lactate of sorts out of a male nipple is available, they're going, oh, we're going to throw identity into the mix as well. So that's going to complicate the matter even more. So what do? Do we stop these men from lactating out of the nipple and into the innocent child that's supposed to be having nutritious milk from the mother? Or do we just allow these men to, do exactly the same thing as women do? It's really nuts. So have a watch of Jasmine Sussex.
It's being taken to Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal after she criticised attempts at breastfeeding by trans women, so biological men. This practice involves biological men who have transitioned, taking hormones to stimulate milk production from an anatomically male breast. In a series of social media posts, Jasmine Sussex claims it's experimental and it's a dangerous fetish. This latest controversy comes after she was sacked by the Australian Breastfeeding Association back in 2021 and came on here on Credlin after she refused to use gender-neutral language like chest feeding rather than breastfeeding. But Ms Sussex has vowed she won't be silenced. I'm delighted to say, the very brave Jasmine joins me now. We were talking in the break, weren't we? I mean, the world is crazy now. Were you surprised that you got this anti-discrimination complaint levelled at you?
I was, just because I have no relationship with this man, and he's been campaigning online for years, literally since he transitioned, to normalise this practice of trans women trying to induce lactation. And so it took the Queensland Human Rights Commission a long time to process his complaint. So I thought that he was accepting that there are different views in the community, but obviously not.
I think there's one big view in the community. I mean, most people would think that this is beyond the pale. I suspect in the medical community it's divided. I mean, you're a lactation specialist. How on earth does someone with male breasts lactate for a baby? And what quality of milk is that for an infant?
Yeah, well, we just really don't know. There's a handful of case reports that have been published in really the trans activist medical lobby, so in the endocrinology journals and in the trans health journals. So they really don't tell us anything other than the experience of that individual trans identifying man, you know, and what he claims. They're all self-reports, so no one's had them in a laboratory expressing milk, or, you know, we just don't know.
Would it be the same quality as a woman's milk with colostrum and everything else that comes from that? Is it the same quality of breast milk?
Yeah, it seems very unlikely. You know, men who have disorders of the pituitary glands, the hormone centres that contribute to breastfeeding, can secrete a fluid from their chests, even if they haven't, you know, if they're not trans women. So, you know, we know from that there's some things in that fluid that's similar to mother's milk, but one of the major problems seems to be that they only make starvation quantities of this fluid. And
so it'll be never enough to feed an infant?
No. So, you know, and you also just have to ask, well, why? You know, why do they want to? And should we indulge that kind of selfish desire to use the baby to affirm their gender identity? You know, that's really my concern. I think it's a safeguarding issue. And I also think, you know, I'm sure it's a small group within the trans community who are advocating for this, because everybody loves their children. But, you know, really, we just need to protect the mother-baby dyad. They're the only ones that can, you know, as a natural flow of pregnancy, then they're able to breastfeed, and everybody else really needs to get out of the way.
Was sacked or fired from the Australian Breastfeeding Association over her rightful comments. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, you can't actually state the truth in society today, because anyone can claim that that is offensive to them, and anyone can actually take you to any sort of tribunal. This Victorian woman, Jasmine Sussex, has been taken to the Queensland Civil and Administrative Tribunal for social media posts that were made 5 years ago that biological males cannot breastfeed, and that offended a so-called man, or it is a man, that wants to be a woman. Unreal, right? Jennifer Buckley later accused Miss Sussex of vilification after the breastfeeding counsellor labelled attempts by biological males to breastfeed babies as experimental and a dangerous fetish, with the Herald Sun quoting Buckley as saying, "Over the past 3 years, Jasmine has made repeated public statements about me and my family that are harmful, hurtful, and false." What's harmful about stating fact? What's hurtful about stating fact and truth? And it's not false to say that men can't breastfeed. That's actually true. But you are living in your delusional world whereby you just want the fetish and the experience of breastfeeding. You're not doing it, and no man should ever do it, for the sake of the child. Because if a man was to actually, God forbid, chest feed or produce chemicals outside of their nipple and into the child, the harm that you could potentially do to that child, we don't know yet. Just because you want to do it doesn't mean that we should do it. If you have a desire of some description to put an innocent baby's life at risk with your fetish, you should not be able to do it. The baby has no consent in the matter. They have no choice in the matter whatsoever. They're stuck with potentially, God forbid, having to suck on a male tit, for goodness sake, not a female. And the difference, as Jasmine rightfully points out, the difference between a male and a female is the female body was designed for breastfeeding. The male body was not. Men don't just produce this lactation effect out of their nipple because they can't get pregnant. Like, if you want to go even further and say that God designed that for a specific reason, fantastic. But men nowadays just want to have this experience. I want to have the experience of breastfeeding. And the rest of society is going, yeah, sure. Whatever. I got no issues with that. I wonder if I went out into society and started asking people, so do you think men can breastfeed? I wonder how many people would actually say, yeah, I agree with that. Or how many would actually say that's going too far? I wonder. I really do wonder. And I wonder how many people would actually be on the side of Jasmine Sussex. Like, you are a breastfeeding expert and you're now no longer considered an expert in breastfeeding because the biological dude that claims to be a trans woman takes precedence somehow. Ridiculous. Miss Sussex, who was sacked by the Australian Breastfeeding Association in 2021 after 15 years as a volunteer breastfeeding counsellor because she overused the word mother and allegedly refused to use gender-neutral language, told the Melbourne newspaper, she will not be silenced. Breastfeeding belongs exclusively to mothers and our babies. And this nonsense of trying to change and flip the language to say, oh, we need to be gender neutral and say chest feeding. No, that is reserved for men and men only. Breastfeeding is for women and women only. Let's not create this neutralized language barrier because you have these men that get upset and go, it's harmful, hurtful, and false. Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Build a bridge and literally get the hell over it. Honestly, I'm sick and tired of these men that think that they're something they're actually not, and they're putting the lives of innocent babies at risk because of their dangerous fetish. And I agree with Jasmine Sussex. And if she's watching this, keep going. We are the only humans can make breast milk to nourish our babies. I entirely reject the claim that my measured criticism of male breastfeeding incites hatred, serious contempt, or severe ridicule. And in a regular, healthy, functioning society, Jasmine wouldn't be taken to any sort of tribunal or court process. She wouldn't be having to go through this. She wouldn't have gotten famous because of her stance. You know what? In a healthy, functioning society, this wouldn't actually go on. So why is it going on? And of all the places for it to actually take place, in Australia, no less. Australia, that knows what's going on in the UK, that knows what's going on in other countries. But nah, forget that. Let's be progressive. Except their version and their idea of progression is actually regression. You're taking all of society way back, man, into the dark, dark times. And I'm sick of it, if you ask me. If you're taking a breastfeeding expert who is a woman, for goodness sake, who's got years of experience through a tribunal court process over truthful comments she said because apparently someone's feelings got hurt for something he should not be doing, we've got issues, if you haven't already noticed. I can only imagine how she must be feeling through all this. Like, what the hell? Anyway, Jasmine, keep up the incredible work. Stay strong. You got so many people backing you, especially myself. But you guys take care, be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video.